the only thing on the agenda, so all up to you.
Okay, so we're calling to order the meeting of the zoning board regular meeting Thursday, January 15th. Oh, did we turn on?
It's on, yep.
Okay. January 15th, 2026, 6:30 PM. In attendance, we have
Nick Fulton, Kip Codson.
Nancy Hutchinson,
Stephanie Methel,
Michaela Pearson,
Kathleen Tracy, alternate.
Eric Kaplan is coordinator.
and absent is Russ Fogg and alternate Richard Korsmeyer and our ZBA clerk, Amy Hewitt. So that's it. So seated for today's meeting will be myself, Kip Codson, Stephanie Mickle, Michaela Pearson, and Nick Fulton. All right, and for the start of the public hearing, I usually start off with instructions to the applicant. So to facilitate an efficient review, please present the evidence that an unusual and necessary hardship exists based on strict application of zoning regulations due to some peculiar condition of the property itself, and that the condition does not generally affect other properties in the district. Whether any reduction in legal pre-existing non-conformity is proposed, the evidence that the variances requested are the minimum necessary to alleviate the unusual hardship and allow reasonable use of the property, and the evidence that the variances requested are in harmony with the intent and purpose of the zoning regulations and the comprehensive plan of zoning. And for coastal site plan review applications, please address the Connecticut DEP comments. And for applications reviewed by the town engineer, please address comments in his report. Now, the first and only case on the public hearing today is case 25-13C, 125 Shore Road, requesting a variances for demolition of existing structures and construction of a new FEMA compliant dwelling, in-ground pool and detached garage within the Connecticut River and tidal water area on an RU 40 lot in the AE 11 flood zone. Thunder Mountain LLC applicant. Several variances are requested to sections 4.3.1 tidal water protection in the conservation zone. No building or other structure, including drainage structures, septic systems, and wells, shall extend within less than 100 feet of the mean high tide line as defined by the Connecticut General Statutes of the Connecticut River or any of its tributaries or associated wetlands. And 4.10.3 conservation zone Connecticut River setbacks. No building or other structure shall be reconstructed, enlarged, or extended, moved, or structurally altered within 100 feet of the coastal jurisdiction line as defined in the Connecticut General Statutes of the Connecticut River or any of its tributaries or associated wetland. And today the board received an updated set of plans, and you're going to speak to that.
Yep.
And regarding the Connecticut River setback variances, the board received a letter dated January 7th from the Connecticut River Gateway Commission requesting a continuance of today's public hearing to allow the commission an opportunity to review at its January 2022 meeting and respond with comments. This letter was also shared with the applicants.
Mhm.
And the town engineer submitted a FEMA compliance review dated December 31st, 2025. And a coastal site plan review application was also submitted for review and sent to the Connecticut DEP for comments, and the comments were received today. Ta-da! You can start now.
Thank you. For the record, Joe Wren, PE of Indigo in Old Saybrook. With us this evening, we have the potential property owner, Michael Oster, there. And then next to him is Ray Malinowski, who works in my office. And then is it Scott? Scott is Michael's friend that lives in Old Lyme as well.
Is the owner of the property not here? You're representing the owner. Is he a potential owner of the property?
He's a contract purchaser.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and there was a letter submitted with the original application allowing them authorization to submit.
Oh, okay.
Applications on
That's what that, I
property.
didn't understand what that meant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're a contract purchaser, subject to certain land use approvals and so forth, which we already have some. And then potentially if they receive the approvals to build the house that they dream to, they will of course move on to purchase the property and construct the house.
Okay.
With the proper
Thank you.
permits.
for
Okay,
explaining that.
that's that clarification. Another clarification is Nancy mentioned, coastal site plan review by DEP. We did get comments today. You have those in front of you. I see a few of them along there. Those comments are favorable. If you read through there, they are happy with us, and I'll go through the details of removing all the paved driveway, relocating the septic system out of the 100-foot review area, removing some buildings that recently have been removed from the property that were there very close to the wetlands, adding landscaping and so forth, using proper ENS controls. They list it all in their review. And we can go into a little bit more detail momentarily. Some other housekeeping things. Nancy did a wonderful review. I want to employ you at our company to review plans because even in my review, I didn't pick up on it. So the surveyor had the CJL line at elevation 2.6, which is correct for Long Island Sound portions of Old Lyme. But as you get up into the river, it goes up to 2.9. So yeah, it's 0.3. So it makes the line a little bit different, a couple feet different in some areas. So what we did, since the 100-foot buffers rely on that CGL from a starting point, we just updated the plans accordingly in the first page of the application, just so everything is consistent. So we brought a bunch of these sets for you, so you have full copies of the plan. And it's, again, it's very, very minor. The line just moved because it's only 3 tenths in elevation, so it moved a very small amount. But to get the numbers correct, we did that for Nancy's request. Awesome catch.
So this is a question I just had in general, so like the coastal jurisdiction line, I understand. But I guess my question is, if the regulation says from the coastal jurisdiction line or the Connecticut River tributaries or any of its wetlands, should it be 100-foot back from the wetlands or from the coastal jurisdiction?
So your
That was the question I had.
50-foot buffer specifically says from the wetlands, whichever is closer. So there, since the wetlands is closer all across here, the 50-foot is directly from the wetlands. The other one is red, and I read it, and we've always applied this in Old Lyme from the CGL for the 100-foot ones, because it says in there, it still has the old language, and this will probably be corrected with the new regulations coming out. It still says the mean high tide line. We used to call the CJL, coastal jurisdiction line, the high tide line, HTL. That went away in 2013 after the storms. They replaced that with CJL. And as I read that regulation and as it's been applied before, it says the mean high tide line, which is the coastal jurisdiction line of the Connecticut River or its tributaries or its wetlands. So I take
So you're saying
that to me, it's the CJL.
the CJL of the wetlands, not
Yes.
the wetlands themselves.
Yes, because like here, right, we have, look up here, like it's the water, this is like a tributary, and then we have the wetlands off of that. So the CJL of the river, of the actual Connecticut River, is way over here, right, on the river itself. This is its associated tributaries and wetlands, so then there's a CJL relevant to all of that too. So that's how it's been applied and approved in the past. That's how we read this particular regulation. If you read the 50-foot buffer, it specifically says in there, whichever is closer, it's wetlands or the coastal resource, whichever is closer. And there, this 50-foot buffer is from that tidal wetlands. The 100-foot buffer is from the CJL.
Okay, and you're okay with that, Eric?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Okay, that's just want to make sure.
Yep. No worries there. We understand that we got the letter from Gateway. They meet next week. So they meet
Yeah.
after your meeting this week. They meet next Thursday night, before Thursday. So they didn't have a chance to review this at their meeting. They've reviewed it at a staff level, but they haven't reviewed it at their meeting yet. So they're asking for continuance.
Yeah.
We're okay with that. We understand that. We're
A
not
lot
going
of
to
times they have
force any decision.
conditions and that they have recommendations that we make as conditions. So it's important to have that review.
Yeah, so they did a preliminary review. You might have that documentation and your information there. They sent us some information. They were looking for further information. They wanted some coloring shown on the plans. They wanted the plan like at a larger scale cleaned up so they could really see what's going on in the buffer. looking at, a fully detailed site plan like this is a little busy for them.
Oh, I was wondering why you had that extra colored picture there.
Yeah, so we did this. So now that we're on this topic, I'll just show you. They wanted us to really bold in color the 50 foot and the 100 foot.
Yeah.
Again, from the wetlands and then from the CJL. And then highlight things like this right now, the pink is all no yellow on this plan. Just green. Remember last one? So we have red and we have blue, so hopefully those colors are good. But here, the red is a fully existing paved driveway.
Yeah.
So all of that is being removed, and you could see the majority of that is within the 50 feet and within the 100 feet. Just a little piece of it is outside the 100 feet. So that's like something like 2,000 square feet of asphalt that's being removed. The new driveway will connect to the same apron, but all of it on the property will be crushed up. And DEP mentioned that in their coastal site plan review as well, changing that to a pervious surface from an impervious surface. So that is one of the main things. The other thing is that we highlighted the septic tank here. There are no records of where the leaching fields are. But with the existing house being here, the septic tank here, and the slope going this way, obviously the leaching fields are downhill of the tank. So it flows by gravity, probably wholly or partially under the driveway. So the septic leaching area and the tank are within the 100 feet of the coastal jurisdiction line as well. So another thing that was done on this plan is we have the new septic system, septic tank, leaching system outside beyond the 100-foot line. So we pulled the septic system out of there. We made the driveway pervious from impervious. There were two buildings that were recently removed. There was a shed here close to the wetlands, as you can see. The wetlands aren't the green. The wetlands are with this marsh symbol up here. And then also there was a gazebo there that was just a little over 200 square feet that was removed recently. And that shed was approximately 124 square feet located right there, and that's been removed. The green on here is not existing. That is a proposed landscaping buffer. So the existing trees will remain. And then this landscaping buffer will be implemented. I believe we submitted a copy of the landscaping plan to you as well. John Cunningham from TEC Landscape did a coastal appropriate tidal wetland fringe appropriate buffer throughout there that are a mix of trees and shrubs and grasses and so forth. And you can see that, at this is a 10 scale plan, you can see that the buffer is, very substantial, maybe close to 20 feet wide here. And he just made it, irregular instead of just parallel to that edge. So that provides, it's not necessarily required, but when DEP looks at a plan like this, when Gateway looks at a plan like this, when your board looks at a plan like this, we like to not see that mowed grass right up to the edge of the wetlands, because what happens over time is the lawn gets bigger and bigger and the wetlands get smaller and smaller. So with the buffer, it provides like a hard stop. So it provides that, it preserves that edge of the tidal wetlands, and then any stormwater runoff over the lawn has to filter through that area too before it gets to the tidal wetlands. So from a water quality perspective, very, very beneficial. And then there is there's like a shad blow proposed there. There's another tree proposed in this location just to, when we went to a zoning commission meeting preliminarily, because we were thinking initially that we were going to have to go in front of them, since the house may be more than 4,000 square feet. We would need a special permit for that. But the house, Michael, working with his architect, worked very hard to keep the buildings down just below 4,000 square feet. So we're
Like
3992, but they're below 4,000 square feet. So we don't need the special permit. And that's not really to avoid that level of review. It's just to, obviously there's a special permit in place to try to keep structures more than 4,000 square feet down. So not only to avoid that, but also to be more consistent with the regulations at the same time. So the variances obviously that are necessary for this project only are the tidal water protection and the coastal resource buffers.
Can I ask you, could you go back to that other?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
easier to see that one.
Yeah.
My main question is like, this plan looks like it's a beautifully designed plan if you were worried about a 50-foot setback.
Mhm.
But it doesn't look like it really is the minimum required to meet the 100-foot setback. It's like, it's very spread out. It's lots of one level living. You got the giant courtyard in the middle. It just seems like if you had wanted to try to be more respective of the 100-foot setback, there could be some design changes.
So a couple things there, and Michael has heard that before when we first started. So initially, the building wanted to be even closer to the wetlands and even maybe a little bit more spread out. The very first thing that we used was the 50-foot buffer as a guide. So there's some stuff, driveway, shed that was recently there in the 50-foot buffer. There's no landscape buffer right now. So they added the landscape, the shed has been gone, the driveway has been changed to pervious. So we feel that we've improved the 50-foot part. Now, as a trade-off, they've designed this house, so it's, you'll see on the cross sections and the rendering it momentarily that the majority of the pieces of the house are low. They're not, maximum 35 feet, all the way around, adding all this bulk and mass to the river, generally lower profile. So in order to get the square footage on a lower profile, some single story phases of the house, it spreads out into those areas. Now, the value of this property, obviously, it's not an inexpensive property. The value of the property are, the views and the relationship with the marsh and the distant river and so forth. So this is very, very important to them to have these spaces here. Without that, the project doesn't work for them and they wouldn't proceed with it. So they've designed the house this way. Again, listening to us to pull it back from the 50 and improve the 50. We are adding some areas in there. Again, we're removing all of this driveway, this impervious driveway. Yes, they're adding the pool and the raised patio, and they're adding these two pieces of the house that aren't in there now. We do have the former gazebo, the former shed, again, in the driveway. But there is additional coverage area. We have a little table here down in the bottom right. There is an additional coverage area in the 100-foot, and that's essentially what we're asking for the variance now.
In the middle section, like that courtyard area.
Mhm.
I mean, like, if you had more house there instead of out in a 100-foot setback, I guess it seems like, again, it's not really designed to try to stay out of the 100-foot setback.
I would agree with you. I can't disagree with you because there's more building in there now than there is today. And this is a major design element that we talked about all along the way. And I think Gateway made an initial comment on that too. But we tried to do our best job in offsetting that additional building within the 100-foot area by a few things. Number one, completely vacating the 50-foot area with anything impervious, adding the buffer, landscape buffer with coastal appropriate shrubs and grasses that isn't there now. And then also, this may be hard to see, but shaded in light brown here is all the existing house and deck. And that existing house and deck, yes, is just outside the 100-foot buffer, but it's only outside the 100-foot buffer because it's way into the front yard and the side yard setback. So it's non-conforming here on this side, and it's non-conforming here to the side yard. So what we did is we brought the house up into that corner. We made it conforming. So we eliminated the front yard nonconformity. We eliminated the side yard nonconformity, started there rather than back here. And obviously that inched everything toward that buffer. So we feel that we have, with this plan, we feel that we have a very good balance of improvements because of the reduction of pervious, improvements because the septic is further away, improvements because we have that landscape buffer, and then other improvements because we are outside of any zoning setback. The only variances that we're requesting are the gateway the 200-foot setbacks, like we said before, 100-foot gateways, coastal resource setbacks. We don't need a variance for floor area. We don't need a coverage variance, and we don't need any setback variance for zoning dimensional setbacks. The other and very important thing here is that we are in a flood zone. So the current house is not flood compliant at all, not FEMA compliant. The proposed detached garage and the house are FEMA compliant.
So that's a question, though.
Mhm.
I guess going back a little bit, so you are outside 50, you're out of the V, you're not in the V flood zone.
That's correct.
But moving the building closer to the water, you're actually getting, that's a decrease in safety, because now you go into the category 2 hurricane inundation area versus right now you're in the category 3 hurricane inundation area.
So
I guess the thing is, it's not just the numbers, it's also safety. You're moving much closer to the V.
the house is getting a little bit closer to the marsh, yes. But it's
The marsh,
it's
but-
up in elevation. So even the highest hurricane in the 100-year flood zone, the floodwaters will not reach the floor of this house. The floodwaters will inundate this house over its floor because it's sitting too low. These are up higher so that the hurricane water, even though it's closer to the marsh, it's up higher in elevation so that the flood water does not reach it. And that's why it's FEMA compliant. Your flood engineer looked at it and said it is FEMA compliant as well.
I just, I'm a little question about that, because I
Sure.
thought the first floor elevation of the existing house is 12 feet.
Yep.
And the first floor elevation of the lower level in that house is also 12 feet. I think it's really raised. It's
well-
made more materially, you're getting rid of a basement, because you're not allowed to have a basement in the flood zone. And it's made more,
So the existing house, let's see where that call out is. Yes, where the first floor elevation is 12.6, you're right, but all the flood materials, all the mechanicals, furnace in the basement, all that type of stuff, having a basement, all of this stuff does
Yeah,
not
yeah.
meet FEMA.
no, I understand. I'm just
So-
saying it's not
compliant.
FEMA compliant, but it's not lower than what you're building now.
The existing house is not lower, yes. If I said it was lower before, then it's more or less the same elevation, plus or minus. Again, we tried to make all the height works and keep everything as low as possible while still meeting FEMA plus the town 1 foot, of course. You are right, the floor elevation of the house says 12 and change. But again, the pieces that, the basement, furnace in the basement, all that is just,
No, I understand. I'm
Right.
just, we're
And
just
moving that
clarifying.
out is good.
Yeah, it's, I guess it just seems like you're moving closer to the VE flood zone, you're moving closer to the water.
Mhm.
You're in the hurricane 2 inundation area versus a hurricane 3 inundation area. And you've got this big courtyard in the middle where you could maybe use that more space for something else. I guess it gets to the question is this is the minimum necessary to overcome the hardship.
we feel it is because the balance of the overall project. So we've been looking at all these projects. We've been advised by attorneys to look at these projects is look at the overall improvement on the overall property, right? So all of this in here, regardless if this is moving a little bit closer, it still meets and exceeds FEMA regulations, right? It's FEMA compliant. The existing house is not FEMA compliant, regardless if it's, 20 or 30 feet closer or not. I don't know where that category 2 and 3 line is, but it doesn't matter because even the category 5 hurricane, this is FEMA compliant for that highest available hurricane. All the improvements, again, I listed them several times, but adding trees, adding the buffer, reducing the impervious, completely vacating the 50-foot buffer, we feel, and eliminating the existing zoning variances and the non-FEMA compliance, non-health compliance, correcting all those items, we feel the overall balance for the site does meet that minimum
So
criteria.
we like things to be FEMA compliant.
Mhm.
I guess thing is, you could build a FEMA compliant building almost entirely out of the setback.
Well, that would be a little challenging. We'd have to fit everything in this area right here.
I wouldn't have a problem with you moving into the front setback, side setback versus being closer to the marsh.
Um. You know, I guess it's
Have you considered
someone,
over this next month.
It is very close.
yeah,
You have a very wide right of way there. There's another, at the end of your property, there's over another 20 feet between your property line and the road.
so I would, I would beg to differ. Obviously, everyone has a different opinion because we wouldn't have any zoning setback, we'd be eliminating those. So if we're doing that, is that the minimum necessary? If we move it up this way 10 feet and away 10 feet, are we really gaining anything? We're not, we're still in the A zone. We have all of this buffer. We're not, even DEP reviewed the application and you have their comments there and they're actually supporting.
Actually, I
That's with the
disagree
current
with some
plan.
of their comments, but they said that,
I haven't heard that one yet.
yeah.
That's a new one.
Yeah, it says, while we generally cannot support, well, let's read the summary of recommendations.
Yep.
The applicant is requesting variances from the 100-foot tidal water protection area and the 100-foot Connecticut River setback in order to construct a new FEMA compliant 4-bedroom dwelling, detached garage, and in-ground pool, patio terrace, new well, and code compliant septic system. While we generally cannot support significant variances from the coastal resource setbacks, in this case, the variances will increase the distance from river over which they currently exist. But the only thing that's really increased the distance is that shed.
And the
Which is
driveway.
gone, which is gone, so we don't consider what's
No,
gone.
but they could be, if it was, it's not
They
in
can
the,
rebuild it.
they could, but it's not in the assessment report, whatever. I'm not gonna get in, worry about a 120 foot shed. But the thing is, it is much closer than the existing house.
It is closer than the existing house.
So
The
I'm not
the
sure where
paved
they
drive,
get this statement that.
the
currently-
paved driveway is the closest thing on the property other than the shed. And it's 2,000 square feet. So I wouldn't say that's minimal. I think that's pretty significant. And they agree with that. I mean, they don't take camera reviews lightly. I've seen a lot of camera reviews in my time so far. And on this project, again, from day one, Michael will tell you, this buffer is very expensive to put in, right?
They may ask you to do that anyway.
They could, but you could say no,
Yeah,
or you could do a lesser one.
yeah.
This is part of the application going in. It's a proactive thing versus a reactive thing. They could pave the driveway. They could say, we don't like crushed stone. We want to pave our driveway and have that in there too. So they, going to impervious. The other thing, or from impervious to pervious, the other thing that I haven't mentioned yet is we added a dry well. So there's 500 and some odd extra square feet of impervious overall on the site for the roof areas and so forth, and most of it's back now. Due to that, we added a dry well, which they also mentioned in their letter there, to take some of the roof water and infiltrate it into the ground. The other runoff from the property infiltrates into the grass and then again gets filtered through this buffer ever before making it to the tidal wetlands. And then with the pervious driveway too, we substantially reduce runoff off that impervious area up there. So the stormwater quality and runoff volume are either equal or better than the existing condition because of those features.
So I think I read, so despite this 2,000 square foot driveway
Mhm.
impervious, you're still increasing imperviousness by over 1,000 square feet.
Whatever the
I have it
overall
all.
number is, the stormwater calculations here say,
1,022.
yep. So 1,022 square feet, but that includes the pool as well, which is a little crazy, but.
It's impervious.
Yeah,
I disagree with it being impervious because it doesn't run off. It gets captured there and any overflow goes to the dry well. So it doesn't run off onto the property, but because it's considered as coverage, we include it in there.
and the other thing is, the
Correct.
pool is like what, elevation 16, but normally without you're building up all that fill, it would be like 8 feet. So you're putting in like 8 feet of fill and the 100-foot setback.
No, the pool is around elevation 11. See 16 somewhere. It has to be lower than, the house is 12, so it has to be lower than mine. Or contour 11 and 12 in that area, so it's somewhere between 11 and 12, but not equal to the floor of the house.
11 feet. Okay, so you're adding only like 3 or 4 feet of,
That's correct. Yeah, those are 1 foot contours, not 2 foot contours. And we have 8, 9, 10, and 11 there. Go from 8 to 11. Correct. Yeah, and that's just to get it to the same level of the courtyard, obviously, so it's not lowered down.
And it's also, I mean, you're going from like 2 bedrooms and 1 bath to 4 bedrooms and 2, or is it 2.5 baths?
I don't know about the number of bedrooms, but it is a 2 bedroom.
There are 4 bedrooms.
Or the number of bathrooms, sorry. But it's a 2 bedroom and it will be a 4 bedroom. Yeah, I don't know about the number of bathrooms.
It's, the property code says 2 bedrooms.
you got
So it is increasing, but all that really,
Flashlight.
all that really has to do with is the septic system. We have a ledge light approval that's in your packet for the new septic system. And that septic system is now fully outside of the 100-foot area. We'll go back to that blowout plan.
Yeah, I figured out pretty much all about it.
So on that gateway blowout plan there, in red is the septic tank. And again, based on the age of the house, there are probably pipe and stone leaching fields out here that, are pretty significant area. They're usually at least 80 feet long in that area. And it's all within the 100 to 50-foot zone. So all of that is out of there now, beyond the 100-foot area approved by health code compliant. So that's also better for the groundwater quality as well.
Because I think the two scripts we're trying to play with, as near as I can interpret what we're conversation looks like, is you've got a script about impact on the environment.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to, I was not noticing that you got to slide down this, you got a runoff going toward the road and toward the right there. That's downhill too, right? The house is on a little bit of a crest.
Yeah, this,
Right there is like a crest.
yeah,
And it
that
comes to your lower right, it drops off.
Yep.
That's a
towards the driveway.
slope downhill, right? So they're moving some of the house uphill. Is that true? From the original house?
no.
The original house is this light brown?
And that's as high on the crest as it's,
Here's like 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6
Yeah.
feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet. And so this house is at like around 11 or 12
Uh-huh.
feet.
but it doesn't slope off going that way at all.
It does slope off going this way.
Hmm.
I'm saying this is not that much. It's kind of like
Yeah.
it comes up.
It's pushing
and
out
and
rather
it's
than
pretty
over, you're
flat.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is 11 here and then we have 12 and going toward the garage there.
11.
And the other
So it
script is flood safety. Is it a safer building because of what you've done?
I
So
don't
those
know,
are things.
the main question is,
Oh.
is this, the variance is hardship?
Hmm.
Aligned with 10 purposes zoning regulations
Hmm.
and,
Non-existent.
and is it the minimum required to overcome the hardship? Sometimes you currently have a 2-bedroom, some number of bathroom house that's totally out of the flood zone. And it's totally, not the flood zone, I mean, that setback, 100-foot setback.
Hmm.
And now you're building a 4-bedroom, I don't know how many bathroom thing where at least more than half of the dwelling is in the 100-foot setback, which is closer to the water,
Hmm.
closer to the flood zone. Is that really an improvement in health and safety? And is it the minimum? I guess that's where I'm struggling. We like FEMA compliant. We like
Reduction.
reduction of,
Pavement and that
Non-conformity, health
shed.
compliance, impervious, dry wells.
and then, but the.
Side and front
but to
setbacks.
look at everything, it's just a linear number. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, it's less than the 24 feet for that tiny shed, which isn't even on the assessment reports.
Mhm.
But then you look at the building itself, and it's like over half of it is in the setback. And you've got this big courtyard, which I'm not sure what its purpose is, but and you're very far from the street. Yes, it's good to get away from the neighbors on the side view, but is this really the intent of the zoning regulations, and is it really the minimum necessary to overcome the hardship?
So bring up one thing too, the septic system is here and the tank has to be 10 feet off of the house. So we have that minimum to the garage there. And then off the pool, we have to be 25 feet.
So what's that center area for?
The center area is just a landscaped courtyard.
To garden.
Area, garden.
So why can't that be some of the dwelling there?
I'll let Michael answer that.
I'd be happy to.
Just introduce.
I'm Michael Oster.
Yeah.
Yeah, fire. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions you have. So, this is a busy road. And we wanted to, I'll just tell you what were the drivers behind the design and why we wanted to do this. So we wanted to get away from the road, number one. Number two, Tracy, my fiance, is a garden enthusiast. She's been to about 50 different countries and gardens, studies that, and so she likes gardens. So this courtyard is going to be like an English garden, and she lived in a mews in London for a bunch of years, and that's what she wanted to build here. The lower part that you were referring to is actually a conservatory, and so that's what the lower part is. So that'll have stone floors or slate floors. All the living areas will be raised up above it. So you'll go down a flight to get to that lower area. This is the only area where it's 2 stories. So wanted that conservatory, that's her dream. Wanted the garden, that's her dream. There'll be a shed for her to do gardening over there. And we're coming together in later life. She has 3 kids and I have 3 kids. And so this is going to be our area, and this area over here is going to be the kids area. So we wanted to have separation, wanted to have windows, wanted to capture all the views. That's why we wanted to purchase this property in the first place. If you see the shape of the setback line, it's almost like a quarter circle that goes this way. So if we were to push it back, this is the 50-foot line. If we were to push it back because of this angle and the curve to a 100-foot line, it's basically here. It's this triangle effectively, and we couldn't fit the. Oh, and by the way, I'm a swimmer, and I swim every day, and except today, I flew in from Florida so that I could.
One of your houses is 2 stories. Right now, it's all sort of spread out.
It's only 2-story here. We wanted to live on 1 story because we have a couple of limitations that make it harder for us. It's only this area that's 2 stories. Everywhere else is 1 story. And so the pool was important for me, and we could not in this area here, which would be the 100-foot setback, we couldn't fit. And by the way, the 4,000 square foot house includes the garage. So it's closer to 3,000 square feet of actually living area. We could not fit, even if we didn't build a garage or built it underneath, we couldn't fit that and a pool in this area, because in order to swim laps, the pool has to be long
I'm
enough.
thinking more about right now the house itself, the dwelling.
Right.
Because it is.
If you forget about the pool, we couldn't, the only way we could fit the size of house would be to go vertical. And A, we didn't want to do that. B, we didn't want to be closer to the road. And I'm not saying that you should approve it for what we wanted to do. I'm just telling you that these are the drivers of the design. And we wanted to live on 1 story.
It's a lovely design if you weren't in the 100-foot setback from the Connecticut River and tidal wetlands, but I just want to know. Yes.
See, for us, with the greatest of respect and love of this town, because we really have gotten to know it, and we would love to live here. It wouldn't be worth it for us given the cost of it. And frankly, I don't think it'd be worth it for anybody to build a house here and a garage here and not to have space for a pool in order to have the 100-foot setback. And so we wouldn't proceed on this property. We'd have to look for something else that would enable us to have 1-story living, sort of that mid-century modern design where you integrate the exterior with the interior, and in order to have enough gardens, we just wouldn't be able to fit that in.
My understanding is like that little area that's out of the setbacks completely, because you said 6% of the property, which is.
I'm sorry, you're talking about here?
know that that wedge of this outside of all the setbacks is 2,500 square feet. It's-
Oh, I'm sorry, that, you're talking about this part over here.
No, I'm saying, yeah,
Okay, uh-huh. Oh, so that would be beyond the 100-foot setback and therefore compliant if we were to build it here.
2,500 square feet. You could
So,
build a 5,000 square foot house with garage, but I know it's not what you want. But the thing is.
Yeah.
Give us a little, it's like, it's more than half in the 100-foot setback.
Mhm.
It's a little bit of a struggle. I'm struggling with that.
It-
Yeah.
For applicants and board members here,
Mhm.
are not familiar enough with the wording of both of the regulations on the 100-foot setback. What's the intent of those? What are they trying to avoid? What's the theory here? And would the reports from DEP and coastal be a big driver on how we
The
should look at
Connecticut River
this?
Gateway response would be a big driver. If they were
Okay.
more favorable toward, I'd feel more favorable to it. But without their comments, I'm kind of like, feeling like they want to prevent degradation of the Connecticut River and its tidal wetlands. And they want to minimize the,
you want to minimize the views, right?
Yeah.
And I think,
Because him building lower seems to slide toward that intent issue. If that's one of the drivers, is what does it look like? Do we want a 3-story thing faced up that everybody sees as they drive by in a boat? No. So just, I'm trying to play out this.
Right.
The issue you brought up, which is a great issue, you wouldn't creep as far out toward the marsh. But you're saying we'd like to have a low profile as part of our intent. And if that matches somewhat.
the part there that's highest
does.
is the part that's sticking out. The
um,
highest part is over there.
well, this is all with the exception of this. Everything else is just 1-story living and raised up a little bit.
I
And so here you're allowed, as I understand it, you're allowed to build 35 feet height, with the exception of a gable roof only on this section and a little bit on this section. The ceiling height will be, I think, 20 feet or maybe less than 20 feet. And so I think it's better for the view from and by the way, the angle of the water and the tributaries and then the Connecticut River to here would be such that a 35-foot tall story here would be far more visible than not only is this less than 20 feet, this section steps down by 5 feet. So that'll be more like 15
I think
feet.
it'd be helpful to show because they haven't looked at the plans yet. They haven't seen the plans yet.
Oh, okay.
So when you're making that description, maybe go to the plans.
Eric, what's your read though on what the intent of those two regs are-ish?
Oh, well, I mean, there's supplemental things that we're trying to do here. One of which is to keep the area around the coastal tidal wetlands there as least impervious as possible, I would say,
Right.
because as was mentioned by Mr. Wren, impervious in this area tends to cause further effects sort of downstream, for lack of a better word, that, ultimately the health of the wetlands is improved by less impervious surface around them due to runoff and other things. So that's one of the pieces. That's a 50-foot. I think the 100-foot is also, as you've been discussing, for the visual impact. And one of the things, like for instance, on 43 Smith's Neck, which we've been fighting about on the zoning commission side, we had them actually do basically what it would look like from the water. And they gave us a map, and I can run upstairs and get it if you want, a mock sort of photograph using AI of what this would look like from the water. And so that's, I guess Joe has that. Okay,
That's why it was upside down.
okay.
All right, so I'm saving this for last when this came up. This is
Oh, we haven't even looked at the house yet, so maybe before you.
yeah, it's a little easier to look at this, but you can look at these plans. These plans were included with your application. Michael could probably, the architect, it's his birthday today, so he can't be here. Michael could probably explain these better than I can since he knows.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So this is from the north. So this is on the neighbor side. Here's Shore Road. So this is the garage, just with open roof above it. This is the garden shed.
There's not a second level of the garage.
There's
It's
not.
Very tall.
The reason we did that, and I could show you a photo of a New England barn that we fell in love with, and so wanted to have that roof line of a New England barn, and it's going to have, if you notice, the sort of the gray weathered cedar that sort of looks like a New England barn, and the whole thing is going to be or would be that way. This is a garden shed, and then this is a little gable with a study. I was incorrect when I said there would be no other second floor. There would be a small second floor here, just with a little bit of a study. The rest of this is the guest room, so it's sort of like a separate guest wing for the kids. And then the master, the primary bedroom then would step down and would be here. So that's the part that would stick out. This is the 2-story area, which I'll come to. Maybe this is the easiest way to look at it. So here's the master bedroom, which is the part that juts out. And you'll see that it steps down. Here's that little study behind it, and here's the garage. This is just one floor. There's nothing beneath it. So it's raised up. And then you step up a few feet, and this would be a living room. But this is the conservatory, and behind it is like the effect of a swimming pool room behind that. So on the grade level, which is similar to the level of the existing house, there would be just that conservatory and that pool room, and everything else would be at this level. Now just going to this side. Oh, forgive me.
Chimney at the end. there.
I'm sorry.
Chimney,
Chimney, it's a chimney outside.
yeah.
Oh, right. So from this angle, this is the front of the house. So here's the garage, here's the living room, and then the chimney will give a fireplace for this this living room above it. So that's just a chimney for a fireplace for this living room. So this is from the front, from the street. So the courtyard over here. You'll walk through the courtyard to go to the house, and then the pool will sort of be stepped down here a little bit. I mean, it's for the view, but it's also to sort of mimic how the land is going. So the courtyard and the pool, and then the pool, the intent.
Can I
Oh,
ask you a question?
yeah, of course.
So since the courtyard is elevated several feet above the natural grade, does it consider as structure?
It's not considered a structure, but we generally try and avoid putting fill in the flood zone. And that's one of the things that Jacobson had to evaluate, was whether that fill was appropriate in the circumstances. But as a general rule, we try and minimize fill in the flood zone, but it's not a structure.
So it doesn't count as structure coverage.
It does not count as structure coverage in this case, no. And
Okay,
again,
so-
depending on what it's made of, it's not even impervious, or
What
what
is it, pavers? What is it gonna be? Like,
Oh, the courtyard will just be
Garden.
soil and
Oh, soil and
plants.
grass.
Yeah, it'll just be a garden.
It's just
You
an
might have some
elevated garden.
crushed stone walkways to
Okay.
walk. through.
Okay,
like
a-
like
an-
at Harkness Park, that kind of thing, where you've got
Exactly.
gardens.
okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to ask about.
Yeah, it'll have no concrete. It'll just
Okay,
be
okay.
soil. So I hope I explained it well enough. This is from the wetlands on the side, and then here's where you'll step down to the primary suite. This is the guest rooms looking at the courtyard and a walkthrough. By the way, on the site, if you remember the site plan, so you have the courtyard. Actually, let me look at it from this angle. This is from the river. So you have the courtyard on the other side, and then you have the pool, and then you have the wetlands. Here between us and the neighbor, we would also put an orchard with local and native, fruit trees and things. That would be between us and the neighbor. And so there's a pass through here to connect from the courtyard to the, like a series of gardens.
Okay, so now that you've explained the house, maybe now would be a good time to look at the AI thing.
So this is, well, it's partial AI, but this is actually a real drone photo from the river out beyond the marsh. And we have other different views and perspectives as well. I didn't want to bring all of them because I have to submit this to you as part of your record. And you would need a whole file cabinet just to hold those. So I chose one of the more appropriate ones. Obviously, the bulk of the river and the views are from this direction, from that southwest direction, looking into the property from the main body of the river and so forth. So this is the house that Michael just explained. These are existing trees back there. This tree and this shad blow here are trees that are proposed as part of the buffer. These trees are not there now. Those are part of the landscaping buffer. And those are shown not full mature height, but obviously once they grow a little bit, that's more of a permanent view from this particular southwest angle. So, with the coloring of the house and so forth and the glass on both sides, you can see that it just doesn't really stick out like a sore thumb. It kind of blends in with the landscape, with the color and the lines of it and so forth.
That view because the trees right in front of it. Yes, exactly. I guess, yeah. So looking at your street view here in your
Mhm.
package,
Mhm.
so the house would be out here somewhere.
Correct. Yes.
So I'm just making sure everyone's gonna see this.
Yep.
Right now, you can, I know the street, you see
I just.
the water. You don't see the street view?
It's not in here now.
What page is it?
Oh, there you go. That's what it is today.
Right, right.
Here's a color.
I thought you meant you had a new one.
Right, so
Yeah.
then, so
And there's
The house would be-
orchard sort of something going on there. Is that the zone where the orchard trees are going to
you
be?
can show the plan of landscape plan.
That's like here,
Yeah,
near where the new septic is intending to be.
No, the fruit trees are along the front or along the side?
side.
The sides over here.
Yeah, yeah.
These trees.
I just saw a couple over here.
Yeah, those trees are on the side. Actually, they actually may show here. I see 4 trees in a line there. They may have included them. They kind of blend into the landscape, but we could send this around so you could see it closer because you have to keep it anyway.
That was the best photo. With some of the photos that show some of the neighbors, you'll see that the neighbor, which is a newer house, 2 houses to the northeast of us,
South.
is considerably higher.
The new house. The new house, the large one.
Yeah, exactly, the large white one. from some-
131.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
So we wanted to be lower than that, and in fact, we're further from the water than that one is. That one is pushed back a good amount.
Do the neighbors know what's happening? I mean, have you talked to any of the neighbors about your plan?
Yeah, that neighbor at 131 is one of the sellers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're very happy.
I didn't actually know that, but
Um,
I guess what you just said?
The neighbor is the one who's selling the house.
Well,
one of
he's,
the,
he's,
one of the-
I think
one
he
of the-
sold it to
Yes.
Thunder
Yeah,
Thunder Mountain.
I can
He
give you-
sold it to Thunder Mountain, I
I
think.
can give you a bit more of the background here. Ron Sweeney is the one with 131.
Mhm.
Ron Sweeney sold it to the Nocitos, but took back paper. And so he is very happy to be selling this house now because he gets his money back from having taken the mortgage. Okay,
And I think what Nocito was going to do if they didn't sell it to us is he was going to keep the existing house and then build a garage
Mhm.
on the water side,
Mhm.
which would be tragic to have the garage have have the view and be seen from the river.
I think expand the house too.
And expand the house as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had a septic design and the house was bigger, the deck was bigger, and then there was a garage.
the real issue at the moment, though, is they've done a bunch of interior work without permits exceeding 50% of the value of the structure. So they have a FEMA violation on the site at the moment,
This site?
on this site right now. Okay?
Not this applicant.
Not this applicant. The existing house is in violation of the 50%. They did improvements without permits. They have done more than 50% of the value. The existing house would have to be elevated if they were to try and keep it.
Or not that they have to be elevated, but have to make FEMA compliant.
Absolutely,
Because it's already at 12 feet
yes, but they would need to remove the basement, get everything else out of all of the above.
out of the basement. Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, the point being is were it not being demolished as part of this plan, there would be a whole series of things that would need to then go happen to bring it into zoning compliance.
So this is the view from the river.
Yes, right. Yep, this is that tree.
I just have a
It's
question.
actually, if you forgive me, from the Blackhall River, not the Connecticut River is,
Yeah.
No, I meant the
Yeah, right.
Blackhawk River.
Like
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
from the marshland.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's no way you're putting a tree right there. It's gonna block your view.
Well,
So,
we try to make it not, I think that was
I mean, it's
illustrative for
very-
the type of tree, but
yeah,
try to make it
but
low.
I think it kind of like hides the house a little
Yeah,
bit. It's very clever.
Gateway
but
wants
I
the
think,
view
It would have
blocked.
actually been a little more helpful to just be able to see the
Take
whole
it.
house without the tree that isn't there, you know?
Gateway would say otherwise.
Yeah,
Gateway would say put a tree there.
No, I know, but there's
So
nothing
that's
binding you
fine.
from putting the tree exactly here, is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
yes, there is. If you approve the variance with that tree there, that tree's going there.
I think,
Okay,
I think what I feel like.
I know there was a
we've-
landscaping
we've
plan
heard a lot
submitted.
here, but I feel like. I
Gateway
wanna
is gonna
hear
want
from the
that tree.
Gateway Commission.
I'm fine with the tree. I'm saying,
Yeah.
I think that for our purposes, since the tree isn't currently there, that I find it a little unlikely that building a house with all these windows, you're going to put a tree right in front of your window.
The point is for Gateway to sign off on it,
They had to.
they want that tree there. So
And it's,
Was that stipulated by Gateway?
not yet, because we don't have the report.
That was kind of my question was we're looking at this and saying, okay, I kind of can't really see the house because
The tree.
you've planted a phantom tree there.
And that's,
So,
that's why we're leaving it open so Gateway can comment.
right.
But the whole idea from Gateway standpoint is when you're looking at it from the water, you should not be seeing the house.
Yes, I understand that. Absolutely. Yeah.
So we had this original discussion with Michael and Tracy and John Cunningham, who's a landscape architect. And when we went to zoning, Eric will tell you, we went informally to zoning to get their feedback because we couldn't come to you and get preliminary feedback.
Right,
It's not
yeah,
legal to do that, right? So we went to zoning, thinking that we might be over the 4,000 square feet. And we explained it to them. And their feedback, Jane's feedback was add trees in the buffer. So we added trees in the buffer. They chose, Michael and Tracy worked with John Cunningham and the architect to choose locations that would work for them from inside the house. We went through all of this detail
Yeah,
initially.
And by the way, this is the master bedroom, so we don't mind having. a
Oh,
tree there.
okay, all right.
This is the
Okay,
living
that-
area. We wouldn't want a tree
Okay.
blocking that.
I
That's
noticed
the
that
living
part
room
here.
and dining.
That
part-
actually makes sense.
That has slats, like you can see through it. That's not how it's going to be. though.
No, I don't know why that's.
I think that's just to show where the house.
Yeah, it would be more like a New England barn. In other
Yeah.
words, this would be weathered gray cedar. There'd be a big window here and a big window here,
Right.
to capture the
Right.
view and the light.
But not
But then
slats.
everything above it would be,
Okay.
I think maybe there's a window, a little like round window or something.
So you
Since we're
would want the
talking
tree
about
there,
glass,
privacy.
we
Yeah,
know what
okay.
Gateway requires. First of all, Gateway's gonna say no, because they say no to all of these projects that have anything in the 100-foot area, they say no to. So that, and they'll have recommendations, but they're gonna say no to anything that's within
They
a
haven't
100 foot.
always said no,
Um,
maybe now.
No, now it's
Yeah.
it's
No,
pretty
it's not.
stringent. There's some lawsuits going on. But other things that they're concerned with, landscape buffers are very important, including trees to break up that view to and from the river. So that has been implemented, keeping these 4 trees up here. And then adding those 2 along there. And then obviously adding more along the front and the side, but especially along the margin. The other thing that they like is non-reflective glass. So we already talked about that. This will be low reflective or non-reflective glass. Apparently birds fly into windows that have reflective glass. The other thing is lighting. So we already talked about that as well. So all the lighting will be minimal needed for safety and security. All will be down lighting, dark sky compliant. Nothing will be bright and shining out into the river. They don't want that. Gateway doesn't want
None of
that,
us
and
want
that's nothing that's added at all. Not, nothing to do with interior lighting, but any outdoor lighting. There won't be any spotlights shining out toward the river at all.
the tree locations are fixed, are the species?
Yeah.
He selected a shad blow, and then I'm not sure what species that is. I don't recall. Oh, it's a black gum.
But I mean, is it mandatory that you plant that kind of tree in that location?
Well, there's a landscaping
Eric
plan
may
that's
be able
been
to-
Yeah,
submitted.
if you make it a condition of your approval, then yes, it is. I mean, ultimately, you're the ZBA and he's coming to you for your approval. So if your approval is it gets built as designed, then they need to build those species.
And they are specified.
Yeah, he
There's
chose,
a landscaping design that was
Yeah.
submitted.
yeah,
Yeah,
there
it's
is.
in here
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
He chose a shadblow, which is a native species, and a black gum, which is another native species. Because they do well in this type of
Yeah.
environment with some salt intrusion and so forth.
By the way, we're flexible and agreeable on all those. For us, the main thing is to be further from the road, to have privacy, to have families sort of separate. But everything else, I'm an environmentalist and that's my career, clean energy and clean water, desalinated water. That we have to share that with people who are interested.
There's more trees
So,
here than
so
there.
everything else that was requested by Gateway as suggestion, we agreed to without discussion, because we would do that anyway. In fact, we'll probably put more trees than are required, because that's what Tracy.
If you want to hold this up,
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about the things that are the surfaces on the house that are facing that thing, you've got almost 180 degrees unobstructed view. You could put these 10% trees in 5 places
Yeah,
and
if you don't
still have
want
a
to put
great
no
view.
trees, then it
All right.
completely agree. And that'd be fine if that was a requirement.
Here it is, plant material. I have, oh no, that's not the.
might be
landscape
helpful
plan.
to just hold
Something
this up
else.
so everyone can see the
Sure.
submitted landscape plans.
And this is part of your application, so
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
that, before they can get a certificate of occupancy, that has to be per plan. I mean,
Mhm.
depending on site conditions, it's close, not any science, but there's gonna be so many, whatever he has for quantities and general locations, all, they would be held to that. So this was submitted with the original application. You could follow around, he shows the existing trees and he shows the proposed tree and shrubs. And you have the shadblow, you have the black gum. Those are the main ones we were talking about. The other items are like blueberry bushes, things like that are a little bit lower. That aren't necessarily shown in here. If we showed everything at their mature height, you would even see less of that. So we wanted to show that, it's rendered in as a black gum tree. As it gets, it'll probably be planted at 12 feet tall, something like that. And then it will grow obviously over time. And then the shadblow over here, obviously will be planted maybe 6 feet and that will grow over time as well. All the species and the quantities and the sizes are all on here as well. So again, not something that you normally see with a ZBA plan, but Michael will tell you, these are things we talked about up front because we knew they were going to be important moving forward.
Thank you so much for.
Ray just reminded me too, also included with your application, I had forgotten about this, but recently, in one of the resubmittals, we included a invasive species removal list. So not only are we adding a new buffer, but in that area, there are a bunch of invasive species that are listed here, existing, and those would all be eradicated
In that buffer zone.
in the buffer zone.
Yeah.
So all of those listed invasive species that are presently on site would be eradicated, and then that landscape plan would be installed. So we think, we mentioned impervious area. Yes, we're increasing impervious area in that zone, but we have other provisions to offset that increase of impervious. And, I've gone through everything several times now, but the impervious or the pervious driveway and then the added dry well for the added coverage, the added 1,000 square feet of coverage is something that's not there right now. There is no dry well. We're not putting anything into the ground other than what naturally runs off and absorbs into the ground. We're forcing some of the roof water into this dry well with stone around it, into beautiful sand and gravel on the site, putting that in the ground. So we think even with the added coverage in here, we feel that this plan that we put together actually improves, like Eric mentioned before, degradation of tidal wetlands
Integration.
3 times the charm, right?
Gradation.
Degradation, right, of the tidal wetlands. We think that with all of this stuff that we just went through, that it's far superior than what's there today.
Now, the dry well, I think it would take 1.3 inches of rainfall?
A little bit more. So it's designed, the 1.3 is the DEP stormwater guideline. It used to be an inch. They increased it by 30% to 1.3. If you look at the bottom line there, it's oversized and it handles 1.8 inches, which is obviously a half inch more than the 1.8 inches of the increased impervious area on the site. So the minimum required is 1.3 inches of runoff from that area, and we're providing for 1.8 inches. And then, of course, the pervious driveway having crushed stone there, that also is going to allow infiltration, absorption and infiltration of runoff in those areas through the crushed stone and into the soil. And then the buffer is huge because those buffers are usually mounded a little bit, with mulch and plantings. And as the water comes down the slope, it can't right now with the fertilization and everything on the manicured lawn, that ends up directly going into there. But now we're going to have this buffer that prevents that runoff with the fertilizer in it from directly going into there. So it will filter through this before it gets to the tidal well. So all of those things come together, just like DEP said in their letter, that it's a, an overall improvement for the tidal wetlands and for stormwater site.
So I feel like we made a very thorough presentation, and I feel like the information, and I feel like I know it's needed, sort of feedback from the gateways.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's why we start off the meeting, knowing months ago, I told Michael, I said, of course, you would love to have, a decision at the first meeting, which is typical. But months ago, back in November or something, I had looked at the meeting schedule and I saw that Gateway was a week after your meeting. So
Yeah.
I said, most likely, if we don't get a meeting with Gateway before, because remember, they don't have a December meeting. Their meeting in December is really their November meeting, which is like the week after Thanksgiving. So in December, like this board, there is no meeting. So the next meeting after that November meeting was January 22nd, which is next week, a week after your meeting. So submitting this, when we did, we hit this meeting, we knew full well that most likely you're going to want Gateway's feedback. And their meeting is after yours. So we were prepared and we knew that we would probably be coming back for the February.
I think you've given us a lot to think about. I think we need a little bit more information. I think it was very helpful for you to explain your thinking. We just need to put it in the context of what we're supposed to make decisions based on, and having information from the Gateway would be helpful.
Mhm.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant tonight? None of that. But there's no meeting for there's no case next meeting, so you'll be the only one again.
Awesome.
All right.
Waiting, we like that.
So if no one else has any other questions, where's my template?
Sorry, but forcing you to come back next month.
No. That's our job. Would anybody, is anyone in the public hearing, this is public hearing, anyone in the public like to comment on this application?
Yeah, do it quickly, because he's saying.
You have to come up.
He's just joking. All right. So with that in mind, would anybody like to make a motion to continue the public hearing for case 25-13C, 125 Shore Road to the February 19th, 2026 regular meeting hall, Monroe Town Hall, 52 Lime Street, Overland, Connecticut.
So moved.
Mikhail,
Second.
Kip. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? None. All those abstaining? None. The motion passed unanimously 5-0. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month, and hopefully we'll have a little more information, and you put a lot of thought into this, and we're just going to try to do the best we can with what you've provided.
And that's a gift for you. Now you have to figure out how to file.
I've got a really.
Yeah.
Night. What about the fireplace?
Yeah, look at all that bright lights.
Yeah, are Phragmites on your invasives list or not?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
What I saw.
There are opposing opinions on Phragmites.
I learned how to spell it tonight.
It's definitely.
Not the,
Yeah, no, you remember Merv Roberts?
Yeah.
Sure. I get huge arguments with him, but he says, no, it's not invasive.
There's a native Phragmites.
Yeah,
species. Yeah.
In
but
theory, yeah.
Most of them are invasive.
Yeah, no, and
These that you see in the
I
photo
spent-
are invasive.
I spent untold
Yes.
hours in the marshes around here as a kid, as a high school kid. There were no Phragmites. There were none.
Yeah.
And it was all cattail marshes, and now it's all Phragmites, 95%. It's had a huge impact on ecosystem. Yeah, no, I know, but I argue with him because he's a bright guy. He knew everything about all that stuff. And he said, yeah, there's a native Phragmites.
It's a very rare species.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it definitely had a huge impact.
All right, so anyway,
Yeah, just remember too, like this property line just goes up, this is the property line here.
yeah,
This property here, which is mostly marsh, is also owned by this, but it's a separate parcel.
Yeah.
So the Phragmites, just to be clear, wouldn't be the whole entire marsh. It
Yeah.
would be everything on the subject property. So,
clearly
yeah,
understood that.
within this. Yeah.
We could just
I didn't
keep
want to
going.
have to read the Phragmites.
All right.
So,
So anyway, so thank you for that. We're
You're
gonna
welcome.
go to our regular meeting now.
awesome. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, so the regular meeting, no old business. The new business is election of officers. And I checked the Connecticut General Statutes, only regular members can vote on that. So just so you know, there's the four of us. Would anybody like to nominate a chair?
Do.
Do I get a vote?
Okay,
Um,
I nominate a vice chair as Kip.
So you have to say, okay.
Okay. And I nominate secretary as Stephanie.
Unless Michaela wanted it.
Not the chair.
Don't want it.
She's 59 this year.
Okay. All right, any discussion? Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the nominations that were made?
So moved.
That was Kip. Seconded by
I'll second.
Stephanie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
those opposed? None. Abstaining, none. The motion passed unanimously, 5-0.
Is it, 5 or 4?
Oh, four, right. Thank you. Gosh, I'm so used to saying that.
And in theory, I guess 401, because he's ineligible to vote, right? He's seated.
Oh, so I just.
Why can't he vote?
He's not
He can't
a
vote.
regular member and therefore he cannot vote. Only regular members can vote on office.
So is it really an abstention or
Yeah,
can't vote? It's just a
I think
zero.
it's zero.
I think
That's
it's.
fine. 400, right?
Okay.
I thought I voted.
I was
for
surprised to see that. All right. Receipt and setting of public hearings for new applications. No new applications. Has this ever happened before? I don't think so.
No.
All right, information items, correspondence. I just want to again welcome the new members, Nick, and also our new full member, Michaela and Richard when he's here. And I just wanted to know if anyone has any questions about anything, just let me know, or you can ask staff for questions as well. And I just want to remind people, please give me a heads up ahead of time if you're going to miss a meeting, so we can seat 5 members. And just for the new members, please don't discuss the case with anyone outside the public hearing, except for staff. You can ask technical questions. Okay,
Can I ask, when I was knocking on doors, someone said, what's going on in the ZBA, and I'm like, and I asked, can I talk about that?
you
And
can talk about ZBA in general, but not any. specific
well, they were
case.
saying cases that are, so, well, they're public cases, and so the good news is I couldn't remember anything.
I mean, so I just wanted to say, but let's see if someone answers my question. We can't really discuss a case outside the public hearing. If you'd like to know more, there's information on the website. You can ask staff or you can
Okay.
come to a meeting.
All right, because the person I was with, I don't know, it was somebody, it was like, oh, yeah, they're public hearing, they're public
Well, once
meetings.
it's been adjudicated, then.
Once
we
it,
can talk about.
yeah, so,
And once it's been,
Yeah.
but it's an open public and
Right.
case that's actually
but-
active.
oh, not an active case, but cases like, what have you been working on?
Oh, yeah,
that's fine.
yeah, and yeah,
Because the minutes are public.
That's what I said.
Right,
Yeah,
but there's
and
so
the
much
recording.
detail, I'm like, I cannot remember one darn thing.
yeah, so just please don't discuss cases that are.
No, of course, that goes without saying,
You can't change
Even
votes. I mean,
Yeah.
Even amongst ourselves.
Yeah, even
outside.
amongst
You're not
ourselves.
supposed to, yeah.
Because that's an illegal meeting.
the class.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah, right.
All right, and then just maybe I think we've talked about this before, but we just got the referral from the zoning commission about the proposed adoptions of the phase one part of the plan. I think Eric, you already discussed this with us before, that this is phase one, and they're gonna have a phase two, and at phase two, they're gonna ask for suggestions from other boards and commissions. And if at that time we'd like to, we could have a special meeting to discuss our thoughts and ideas that we'd like to present. But I don't think it's quite time yet for that, but I think we would like to probably do that.
I would.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mentioned to Nancy earlier this week, I believe. The timeline as we're looking at it now looks like in March, we are probably going to have a meeting with all of the various boards and commissions in town, to try and solicit input as to what they think needs to be in there. And then probably in May, the first issue we're likely to be taking up on the new regs is flood zone. Because that seems to be an issue that you guys here at ZBA have very strong opinions on, and obviously is very important to members of the community. The thought was to have it as, in May, so that people in the seasonal community, we might be more likely to be there. But again, we wanted to have it early enough that we can still get everything else sort of in line for the rest of the summer. The goal is over the course of this summer, starting in March, to have probably on the order of 4 or 5 gatherings of different stakeholders. We're going to aim to have at least one meeting, maybe 2, in like the clubhouse of one of the beach associations, just so that people again are in the neighborhood there. We're hoping so that, we're not going to be able, obviously, to make everybody's change happen, but at least that the goal is to be listening and hearing, and so people feel that they're being heard and that they have a stake in what's going forward here. So
maybe with the timing of that, maybe at our February meeting, because we only have one case.
Yeah,
Maybe we could put that on the agenda as
yeah,
everyone's input as to what we'd like to discuss as a board.
right, because we need it by March. I say
Yeah, I
definitely.
think so. Put that in the next.
I thought we were gonna do it tonight.
we're already at 7:46.
Yeah.
And
I
again,
think we need to give everyone a heads up, because I
Yeah.
know that I'm still going through what they
Yes,
did
me
phase
too.
one.
Yeah.
and since
And then
next
post phase.
meeting, you're basically just going to be working on the update to whatever you heard tonight from Joe's application. You have no new applications.
Yeah.
You should be able to get through his relatively quickly and have time next month to work on.
That
I
works.
think so.
That's fine.
So we'll plan on that for next month.
Okay.
And then also just, excuse me?
Are the updates available for review already?
Yeah, they're on the
So-
website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll find them.
on the
And we can-
website.
And there was an email with the link.
And
Yeah.
yeah, Craig sent us a link.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you.
And the goal going forward for the rest of this year is in real time, as things happen, they will be put on that website. That website is going to be, the goal is to keep it again, up to date as possible so that people can just keep going there and seeing what we're doing.
It's been really helpful so
Yeah,
far.
it is really, you guys are
You
doing
know,
a
that
great.
you can just go there and
Yeah,
everything.
it's been a team effort. I mean, Mary Gardner Capola, who's altered on the zoning commission, has worked with me on some of the materials you see on there. Like some of it has come from FHI. Craig has been working on sort of keeping it looking right. So again, the thing about websites is unless you keep them current, they're rapidly of no use. So the goal is to make sure that, again, it stays a current document. So.
And I just forgot to mention that since we now have new alternates, the rotation is going to end up being Kathleen first, Nick second, and Richard third. And we're just going to go that rotative.
Right.
So next time would be Richard, and then after that would be Kathleen.
I mean, if somebody doesn't show, at least I'm prepared because I was here.
Right. And hopefully everyone will be here that's here this month. So someone doesn't have to
Next
listen to the next month. They'll be here, so they don't have to listen to tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And with that in mind, would anybody like to talk about approval of would anybody like to propose any amendments to the November 20th, 2025 ZBA meeting minutes?
Make a
No?
motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, Kip,
I'll second.
Michaela. All those in favor?
Uh,
I have to abstain. Okay, so that's,
Right.
so that's 4 yeses, 1 abstain, and anyone opposing? No. Okay, so the motion passed 4 to 0 to 1. Right? Did I get that right?
That's right.
Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Kip. And who was the second? Me, Michaela.
This whole script thing.
Who's the one?
Second.
It's so good though.
Alright.
So just all that.
And all those in favor, aye. Opposed, none, abstaining, none, motion passed unanimously 5-0. And we are adjourn the meeting at
I have 7:49.
7:49.